I guess the question I had is kind of as far as just training aspect. What's your percentage? Are you training technique versus strength or cardio? Is it like a 50-50 mix? Are you heavy on technique and then less cardio? You know what I'm saying? How do you have that split?
How do I balance everything? Great question. This depends a lot on how intense the training is, depending on what you're preparing for, right? So
Okay.
Grant said to me one time that when it comes to strength training, as long as you get yourself in the gym three days a week and you push yourself, that you will be able to make strength progress and gains, and that's true. That's 100% true. Um, with that said, as far as with jujitsu goes, personally, the way I've been able to find a good balance between being able to practice my jujitsu and at the same time be able to still hit the weights is to spread the load across. So instead of a 3-day split, I've been doing a 4-day split. All right.
Okay.
So the way I've been doing a 4-day split is I've been doing more what most people would call like a type of conjugate or congruent training, where on one, so basically the way it works is I'll go either upper body on one day, lower body on the other. Lower body being, let's just keep it barbell specific, your squat, your deadlift, and then upper body, let's just keep it very starting strength specific, your bench, your press, right? And then on one of those days, your upper body lift is intensity focused. So the volume is very low, but the intensity is a bit higher, right? It doesn't have to be balls to the wall every single intensity session, but it's higher. It's just meant to push you a little bit.
Okay.
And I found that if you train with intensity, so like say like in your 85% max range, 85% 1 rep max range, but you keep the volume very low, you can still hit that high intensity lift. Because you have low volume, you feel fine. You hit a heavy double, triple this morning, maybe even a heavy single, but you're good to go for training. Like you don't have any soreness. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Same, and that goes both ways. It goes for the upper body and goes for the lower body. Same thing with the vol. So then the other day is the volume day, right? So you have your intensity day and then you have your volume days. On the volume days, the way it typically works with the type of training I've been doing is on the volume days, you focus on, again, lower intensity with a higher volume. Again, because the intensity is lower, the volume is very manageable. And the way it typically goes, it scales, right? So you start the volume. The volume you can adjust depending on how much you want to push yourself, right? So that's where you can really push yourself. So for example, on there's like 3 weeks where I need to just more of maintenance, not so much of like pushing hard for progress. On my volume day, what I'll do is like, say for example, I'll do like 10 sets of 3 reps. That's super small. 3 reps at like 70%, right? That's like almost nothing. Like you can move that bar super fast. Say I want to push myself, right? Now we're talking, say, for example, 5 sets of like 2 reps at like 85 to 90%. Or say, for example, or you may even be pushing even harder, right? So, I mean, I've found that the conjugate or like the congruent training to work a lot better with jujitsu because again, on the days that you have very high intensity, the volume is low enough so you can still go in the gym. And on the days when the volume is higher, the intensity is still low enough where you can still go in the gym and train.
So follow-up question. So right now, you work for Dr. John. You have a jiu-jitsu studio that you have to run. How many days are you lifting weights and how many days are you rolling? And include, I think that's one thing where jiu-jitsu is very different than strength training, right? Like, so I trained 5 people today in person. I did no physical effort, right? Like, because there's nothing. And maybe you think of training someone in jiu-jitsu is no physical effort. Maybe you have a nuki there or whatever, but I just mean like how many days are you in like, hey, I'm trying to make my jiu-jitsu craft better? And how many days are you in the gym saying like, hey, I may not get stronger today, but I'm working on things to get stronger over time? Because I mean, I think the real answer is that you actually ran your novice linear progression correctly. You got strong. and then now you actually are kind of in a maintenance mode, and you're like, how do I balance these two things? But how many times are you doing jiu-jitsu, and how many times are you lifting weights?
So I'll answer that question. After I answer it, I'm going to clarify, because when I answer that question, some people listening to this podcast will be like, how the heck is he doing that in non-steroids? Okay. I lift at least 4 days a week. Sometimes I'll lift 5 days a week if I feel like, I just want to get a little bit more volume in, a little bit more quote unquote assistance work. And I'm doing jiu-jitsu 6 days a week. Okay. Now, with that said, people are like, what the heck? Like, how is this kid like doing jiu-jitsu 6 days a week? He's lifting 5 days a week. Like, I can barely like do my 2 days a week of jiu-jitsu, my 2 days of lifting weights, and I'm absolutely dead. Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you a hypothetical, Grant. Say, for example, somebody came to you, Grant, and they said to you, hey, you're Grant Broggi. You say you should at least get in the gym 3 days a week to still make progress. What if they told you, it's like, Grant, I get in the gym, I go 3 days a week, but I absolutely cannot do it. I just physically can't get in there 3 days a week. Is it a time thing? No. It's not a time thing. Like I can make the time to go in there. So what do you mean? Like, it's just too much for me, man. Like I just can't do it. What's probably the first thing you're going to tell that person?
Without cursing?
Find another program.
They're going 3 days.
I'm gonna ask them if they're sleeping enough, if they're waiting enough between sets, and like how aggressive they're going on load progression.
There it is. You hit it. You hit the nail on the head, right? How aggressive, right? How aggressive is your training? It's the same way with jiu-jitsu. It's no different. You can't go to the gym 4 times a week to the jiu-jitsu gym, go balls to the wall, and expect yourself to recover. And that's what people do. Like, that's what the average guy does. Like, unfortunately, the average guy has absolutely zero concept of how to pace themselves in the jiu-jitsu gym. Every single roll they want to beat you. Because you guys have to understand, like, with weights, yes, there is a competitive nature to weights. Like, I want to outlift that.
But it's you against the bar. It's not you against another person.
Exactly. And so when you go against another person, like, it really takes like a lot inside of a man to be like, I'm not going to beat this guy up. I'm just going to go soft, right? And it takes two to tango, right? It takes two people coming onto the same page saying, hey, we can't afford to keep up this high intensity training load. We have to take this down. And unfortunately, too many people don't do that. And they never do that. And so their whole jiu-jitsu career is plagued with
ego
injuries, right? And they do the same thing. It's they repeat the cycle over and over again. They go into the gym, they go too hard, time and time again, they get injured. They take time off, they recover from the injury, they come back to the gym, they go too hard, over and over and over again, they get injured, they recover. And then the cycle just rinse and repeat. So I think, honestly, one of the biggest problems with most jiu-jitsu practitioners, even recreational ones like Dr. G, is that they go way too hard in the gym, like in the jiu-jitsu gym. Listen, it typically has nothing to do with the weight room. Okay? Understand, in the weight room,
There we go.
Right? So this weight is fixed. I know how much load this is. And this isn't going to move on me. Like, I can predict what this is going to do. When you hit hands with somebody and you go for a roll, you don't know what the load is going to be. You don't know how it's going to move, right? It's completely unpredictable, right? So a lot of times jiu-jitsu guys, when they can't manage both, the first thing they do is like, oh, well, I guess I got to ditch the lifting because I want to keep doing jiu-jitsu. Buddy, you're an idiot. Like, this doesn't change. Like, this is the most predictable thing you have. This is what you have to keep going. Adjust your jiu-jitsu training, bro. You're doing it wrong.